Okay, so I've been following this election very carefully lately because I think it's been a sham, honestly, especially in the key states here, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Nevada, and Georgia. We're talking massive levels of voter fraud. I've seen some live streams lately where they've been presenting all this information about voter fraud they've had, and it's massive. So the question is, what can we do about it? What are Trump's chances at this point? And the answer to that is the best chance Trump has is to not certify the votes. Because here's the thing. If we don't certify Pennsylvania, and interesting thing about Pennsylvania, by the way, there is a court order in Pennsylvania not to certify the votes. The problem is that when the judge notified the state that he was going to issue this court order, they did some kind of midnight certification. Like again, these dark backdoor deals that the Democrats are constantly doing to try and push Biden through as president, they're really shady, and that's not how this process is supposed to work. You know, blocking observers, pulling truckloads of votes in the middle of the night, all of this stuff is not supposed to happen, and that's not how our elections are supposed to work. So yeah, but the Democrats, they got to do all of this stuff in order to push Biden through as president. Biden didn't win this election. Okay, Biden is being installed. It's absolutely unconstitutional. And many of the and there's a lot of there are a lot of trials going on right now. A lot of things being brought to trial about the unconstitutionality of a lot of the things the states have done that have made this whole election unconstitutional. The question is, you know, if they determine after the election that the states acted in an unconstitutional way, the election still happened, right? So the thing is, we have to stop these states from installing Biden as president before they actually get away with it. And the only way to do that is to not certify the votes. If the votes aren't certified by December 12th, which is when the Electoral College meets, then Biden will not get 270. And if Biden does not get 270, he does not win. Period. He has to get 270 to win. Trump doesn't need 270 to win. Biden does. Because if neither candidate can get 270, it goes to a special election. And that special election is going to pull one delegate from each state. And if that happens, Trump will win. So Biden, again, Trump has the advantage there is that the fact that he just doesn't need to get 270. So if Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin don't certify, Biden doesn't get 270. If Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Arizona don't certify, Georgia, right? So basically, any three states, if they don't certify, Biden doesn't get 270. So of the contested states, right? So Nevada, Arizona, and Georgia. Well, no, those three, that combination doesn't work. It would have to include one of the, Michigan and Georgia are the same. So if Pennsylvania doesn't certify, then it needs two more. If Pennsylvania does certify, then you need four. So it would have to be like Nevada, well, let's see. Georgia, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Yeah, so there's combinations here. Anyways, we need three states not to certify. And then Biden doesn't get 270, he doesn't win. And the bottom line is it's unethical to certify a fraudulent vote. And people are going to cry, oh, disenfranchisement. You're disenfranchising all these black people by not certifying these votes. The thing is, mail-in ballots don't have an ethnicity. And that's what really Biden, that's really what put Biden over the top, are these mail-in ballots. They don't have people backing them up. They're just truckloads of ballots that showed up in the middle of the night. They don't have any ethnicity. They're just pieces of paper. You're not disenfranchising anyone. We know the people voted for Trump. 72 million people came out in person to vote for Trump. While you have 80 million mail-in ballots saying, well, Biden won this election. I don't think so, right? Well, you look at the protests that happened in D.C., 250,000 people showed up. And on the outer fringes, you had a few Antifa people harassing them. That was Biden's support. A handful of Antifa people. You have 250,000 people in person showing up to protest at the Capitol. The people did not vote for Biden. The ballots voted for Biden. The people, the actual physical human beings voted for Trump, and we saw them in person. We saw them show up in person and stand in line and cast their vote. We don't know who voted for Biden. We just know there are 80 million ballots out there that say Biden should be president, but we don't know who filled them out. We don't know where they came from. We don't know their story. We don't know their background. They're just ballots. And there are a lot of questions concerning where these ballots, a lot of legitimate questions concerning where these ballots came from. At the end of the day, it's fraud. It's unethical to certify an election that is as fraudulent as this election. And that's all you have to do, right? And there's a case in Pennsylvania right now. Again, the judge ordered them not to certify, and they did this midnight emergency meeting to certify the vote before the judge could stop them from certifying. And if you look up a video, I'll put it in the link below in the description. I'll put the link in the description below. It's a video by Rakita Law. He breaks it down and he goes over everything that happened in Pennsylvania. And this happened like 2 days ago. But again, also, we have to be careful not to rely too heavily on audits, because I have to be clear on this. Audits do not prevent or detect fraud. An audit will not identify fraud. The only thing an audit will do is get a ballot that's not properly marked thrown out. We have blind elections. Audits and recounts cannot trace the ballots back to the envelope they came in. And because of that, you have no idea if that ballot was fraudulently cast, and it cannot be thrown out for fraud. So don't rely on the recounts. Don't rely on the audits, because they will not detect fraud. Fraudulent votes will get through an audit. Fraudulent votes will get through a recount, and we need to remember that. Recounts and audits will not change the results as they are. And at the end of the day, we don't want to change the election. We want to save the election. We want to save it from fraud. The only way to save it from fraud is not certifying these states. And again, the certification, all these lawsuits that are going through on the federal level, they do nothing. The certification happens on a state level. So it's up to the patriots who live in these states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada. The patriots who live in those states, they're the ones who are going to decide the fate of this nation. I live in a completely different state, right? I don't have the influence in that state. But the patriots who live in these states, they do. They need to talk to their delegates. And also, another thing, look at Wayne County, Michigan. There were two Republican delegates who voted not to certify that vote in Wayne County. And look up what happened to them. They got threatened. They got bullied. Their children were threatened. Their families were threatened. And they were bullied into certifying the vote. The very next day, they realized how much support they were getting, and they tried to rescind their decision, but it was too late by then. They signed affidavits saying, yes, we were under duress, we were threatened and bullied into certifying this vote. But by that point, it's already too late. There's nothing that can be done by that point. But it's not done yet. If there are delegates out there in these states who are going to decide not to certify the votes, the fraudulent votes in these states, the patriots in these states need to let these delegates know that you will have their back. Don't let Antifa, don't let the bully media, don't let all these thugs and terrorists intimidate the delegates into voting against their conscience because they want to protect their family. Don't let it happen. You got to let these people know, if you do the right thing and you choose not to certify this vote, we have your back. Go onto the streets. Make yourself known. Make your presence known, and let the delegates know that you will back them up if they choose not to certify these fraudulent votes. Because literally, the Constitution is hanging on the balance here. If the Democrats get away with this level of blatant fraud, will they stop here? No. They won't stop here. It won't stop here. It will happen again, it'll happen again, and they will continue to take your rights away one by one and piece by piece until they have the total control that they want. And then elections in this nation will become basically the way they are in third world countries. You know, Kim Jong-un or Saddam Hussein, right? You basically have one person, and if you don't vote for that person, you're dead. You know, yeah, like Saddam Hussein, I think there was an election and he got 100%. Oh, wow. What a fair election, right? That's the direction we're heading with this kind of fraud. If we just sit there and let it happen, that's where we're going. And if we lose our ability to elect our representatives, we lose our nation, we lose our constitution, we lose our freedoms. It's all gone. This is step one to tyranny. Take away their right. Take away their voice. Step one. So it's up to the patriots to stand up to this. If we let this happen, the consequences will be devastating. They'll be catastrophic. So it's very important that we do not allow them to certify these votes. Well, I mean, there's very little we can do to actually stop their certification, but patriots in these states need to speak up. All right? Contact your delegates, go out into the streets, make your presence known, bring lawsuits. Again, in Pennsylvania, it's a lawsuit that stopped the certification in Pennsylvania. The certification in Pennsylvania has not been perfected yet. It's been passed, but it hasn't been perfected. So that gives a little room to legally question the certification. And if these states aren't certified by December 12th, then when the electoral college votes, then Biden won't get 270, and he goes back to his basement where he belongs. Yeah. We can't hand this nation over to China, Antifa, the legal invaders. We can't do it. This is where we need it. This is Trump's best chance. This is our best chance as patriots to save this election. And I'll leave it at that. Send Biden back to his basement where he belongs.